Hi, I'm Katie Duke, and I've been a nurse for over 20 years. Listen, I used to think that I was my most stylish in my 20s, but honestly, style and confidence only get better with age. And that is why I love Figs. These scrubs are beautiful, comfortable, and they are built to last. They're not those boxy, scratchy uniforms that we all started out in. No. These fit perfectly. They feel amazing, and the quality is just wow! My favorite color? Burgundy. It's chic, it's timeless, and it's even the same color as my apartment, because I'm kind of obsessed with it. And I love adding custom embroidery to make my scrubs as personal as my style. And since I work in telehealth, my embroidered figs even double as my ID badge. It's never too late to reinvent yourself or your scrubs. Get 15% off your first order at wearfigs.com with the code FIGSRX. That's wearfigs.com, code FIGSRX for 15% off your first order.
Welcome to the Energy to Heal podcast. My name is Laura, and this is the Splankna podcast for people who are ready to break free from the emotional patterns that keep showing up in their relationships, their reactions, and their lives. On this show, we talk about emotional intelligence, healthy marriage and parenting, and how to stop repeating the same old cycles that never actually worked in the first place. Some episodes are marked with an asterisk. Those are our deep dives into the Splankna protocol itself, where we explore how this faith-based mind-body approach supports emotional regulation and lasting freedom. Because it's not about trying harder, it's about surrendering fully to Jesus and then just allowing Him to do it into our past and becoming the version of ourselves that we were always meant to be. We're not forcing change here, we're becoming free. Welcome to this week's episode of The Energy to Heal. So last week we went through some questions. I told you guys that my husband and I had attended this marriage panel recently, and it was us and another couple that had been married 10 years longer than us, and the audience was able to text in real life questions, stuff going on in their marriages, and we just on the fly answered them. And I'm going to share with you what our answers were so that you could kind of feel like you were there. I'm going to preface this. I am not a marriage expert, but man, am I passionate about people having amazing marriages, because I'm convinced that your marriage is what you build your entire family on. Your kids thrive or not in a healthy family versus a broken family. And then those kids grow up and they tend to repeat the kind of relationship and marriage and family dynamic that you created for them when they're adults. It's such a big deal. And I get it. Marriage can be extremely hard. But when surrendered to each other and to Christ and honoring in the way you live, and if you can just learn some new skills that just probably were never taught to you as a kid, you can drastically increase the health and the joy and the peace in your marriage. And yes, it takes both people wanting to heal, wanting to grow, wanting to rebuild. But man, I've seen people do it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm going to jump into these questions here. But I also want to preface it with this. If you and your spouse are in a bad spot, you guys have gotten in some bad patterns, some months, some years have gone by, and the actual relationship part of your relationship has kind of died out, and now you just kind of feel like roommates, and what do we do? Where do we go from here? I want to tell you that there is something you guys can do to start over. A lot of times when people get to this place, they're like, okay, our marriage is terrible. We don't like each other anymore. We don't even know each other anymore. We have no idea how to connect. So we're going to end the marriage. We're going to separate, and we're going to start over with somebody else and hope for the best. I want to tell you, you can do that. Scrap the marriage, end it. Yep, what you were doing definitely wasn't working, and you can start a new marriage with your current spouse. You don't have to pick a new person to do this with. If both people are on board and both people are like, I'm all in, scrap the marriage you had because it's over, You aren't the same person you used to be. Your spouse isn't the same person they used to be. You used to be married with no kids. Everything changed when you had that first baby. You maybe used to be married in a different schedule and job setup. But as soon as that new job came along, everything changed, and you get to reinvent what marriage looks like for you, both of you, in this season. What do you want your house to feel like? What do you want your marriage to feel like? Present that to each other, and what has to be true in order for those things to actually come into fruition in your house. I want you to know you are not a victim in this. If both of you guys are on board to create something awesome, you can literally create whatever kind of marriage you want to have. All right, so let's get into it. I'm just going to grab some of these questions right off the breakout sheet here. I'm going to tell you what we said. I'm going to, when applicable, or if it was something different, I'm going to tell you what the other couple said. As a reminder, they had come through an affair 17 years prior to this panel that we did with them. Their entire marriage exploded, imploded, shrapnel everywhere. Everything was blown to pieces. And they rebuilt it in a long and arduous process. And they did come from a very different perspective, but man, did they have some good wisdom. So one of the questions that was sent in was, how do you handle a relationship where you have different passions and interests than your partner? I was just with a friend this weekend, and she said the same thing. She's like, I feel like as we've gotten older, the things I'm into and the things he's into are just different. And I don't know how to care about the things that he cares about. And I don't think he cares about the things that I care about. And it just feels so isolating. And I think every married couple who's been married for a significant amount of time has gone through seasons like that. The only thing I remember saying in this panel for this is like, you guys, if your kid, let's say you have a teenager and they're into video games, or they have a certain sense of humor that you just don't get, like, it is still your role, your job to get into their world a little bit. This is a moment to say, like, at this moment, this is not about me. This is about the higher good, which is connecting with my family, connecting with my spouse, connecting with my kid. Ask them to tell you, what is it about this thing that you love so much? Can you help me understand? What is it about these characters? What is it about these books? What is it about this event that just gets your heart racing? Tell me what that's like for you. You don't have to have a new hobby where this thing is your new favorite thing, but do you even understand what they love about it? And if not, instead of trying to think, man, I got to make this my new favorite thing to do, just get curious. Shift your whole perspective into, I'm just going to be curious about this thing that my spouse gets so excited about. Let them teach you. Let them take you on a date where they do the thing that they're passionate about, and you choose to have a good attitude, a learning attitude, a curious attitude about it, and just be like, you know what, this is never going to probably be my thing, but I am going to be all in for this date. I want to experience this as if it is my thing. And if they can do the same thing for you, great. And then you can be like, hey, we don't have to be carbon copies of each other. We can have our own interests. We can respect the differences that we have and give each other the willingness to stand in each other's worlds for a second. The other thing I would say is, I would bet that there's something out there in this whole wide world that you two could enjoy together. There are millions of hobbies and events and places. And if you can't find a single one that you two have in common that you could do together for fun, my guess is it's not a hobby issue. It's a heart issue or a relationship issue. And your issue and your problem might be a little bit deeper than just not being able to find something that you have in common. Another question that came up was boundaries with the opposite sex. What should that look like in a faith-based Christian marriage? Should you have boundaries with the opposite sex? And I told you guys, one of these couples that was on this panel came from an affair, and they said, err on the side of being careful. Friendships between a married man and a woman, or a married woman and a man, don't tend to end well. I've met a lot of people who have said, oh, they're just my friend. It's just me and this guy going out to lunch together, but don't worry, they're just my friend. Every red flag that I have goes up. I'm not saying it's sinful, but I'm saying you're playing with fire. I, in my own personal life, have not experienced many or any times where there has been a deep friendship between a man and a woman, and eventually one of them doesn't start to have feelings for the other. And when I'm talking about friendship, I'm talking about like a guy and a girl, not like a group of friends. So like we have this thing called Supper Club, and there's 3 couples, 6 people. Every month we get together, we take turns who hosts. We provide the entire meal, the appetizers, the meal, and the dessert. And the 6 of us have been doing this for years and years. And I am friends with these guys, but I would never go out to lunch with just one of them. When I hang out with them, my husband's with. If I'm on a text, it's because my husband is in that text thread. It's the 6 of us talking. It's not me and one of the other husbands talking literally about anything. We just don't do that. My father-in-law is a pastor, and his standard is he just is never in a room alone with another woman. If he's doing counseling or meeting with somebody, there is someone else around. There is not even the appearance. And it's not because he doesn't trust himself. It's like he doesn't even want the appearance of something going on. So that one, myself and this other couple and my husband, we were all like, yeah, just don't play around with that. I'll add to that too. Like if you have social media, you have obviously text messages. Like if you are texting the opposite sex for any reason, or on contacting us, like your spouse, absolutely, hands down, I would take a massively firm stance on they should have access to everything. When you decided to get married, you gave up your right to talk to other women or other men privately. To me, that is so obvious. Your significant other should be able to pick up your phone, ask you to log in to any kind of social media, any kind of text threads, and you have zero anxiety because you have nothing to hide. If you feel like that would be terrifying, there might be something to check there, because it should be that you have literally like, here's my phone. Yeah, here. You want to read about school pickups and like there's nothing in there that I could ever imagine my husband finding that would be terrifying for me or even uncomfortable for him to read. That kind of freedom is so amazing. The next question was, how do you continue dating in marriage? I love this so much. So my husband and I, we've got 5 kids, ages 5 to 14. So 5, 7, 11, 13, 14. And when we had 3 in diapers, we for sure stopped dating each other. We were in survival mode. I didn't shower on a regular basis. I didn't even really like my husband a lot because I never saw him. He was trying to build a business. We were on separate planets. And the idea of even going out on a date was so, I'll pass. Like, and him too. We both were just like, we just don't have time. We don't have the energy. We are exhausted. And man, I wish we would have kept dating. So now we have not 3 in diapers. We have more kids than we used to, but they're older, none in diapers actually. And we make weekly date night a thing that definitely happens. And we do it on the weeks that are busy. We do it on the weeks where we're exhausted, and we do it on the weeks where we cannot wait to get out the door and be with each other. We just have made it a priority. I was talking to another friend of mine this weekend, and she said, I've been on dates where we go out and like we are not getting along even on the date. Like there's tears, there's hard conversations, there's ending it early and going home because it didn't work out this time. But then the next week we showed back up again. Sometimes our dates aren't leaving the house. Sometimes it's just putting the kids to bed and sitting out on our back porch and talking. We've gotten in a routine of practicing because, man, I have not been good at this forever, but practicing being real with each other so much deeper than just the calendar. What did you do today? What are we doing tomorrow? Did you sign up Bennett for that thing? Did you make sure to mark Noah on the count? Like deeper than all of that, real questions about giving my husband access to what's been going on in my head, in my heart all day. That's the kind of stuff, the conversations that you want to aim for when you get some time alone together. You can even take turns like who plans it. One person is in charge of where are we going to go, what are we going to do, and then the next week the other person gets to treat their spouse with the same thing. Next question is, should I track where my spouse is on the Find My app? I don't think I covered this one last week when I did part 1. Sorry if I'm repeating. That one was just easy, hands down. Like, why not? Literally, where could you be that your spouse shouldn't know about? If anyone has a problem with that, it goes back to the social media thing. It's like you only would have a problem with that, in my mind, if you have secrets. And if you have secrets, where are you? And if that's the case, something's up. If my husband said, hey, can I track your location? Without a single doubt, absolutely. If you're someone who's super paranoid, you're always accusing your spouse of having an affair, even though they've never done anything to make you fearful of that, I still think it doesn't hurt to be able to track each other on those kind of apps, because if you're someone who's super anxious, you've got a lot of unhealed hurt and trust issues from your past, and you say to your spouse, hey, can I track you on Find My? Like, how gracious to just, as the spouse, be like, yeah, I know this is a big deal for you. If I can settle your nerves and your heart in any way, shape, or form, absolutely. Sure, go ahead and track me. Similarly, there was a question asked, should we have a joint bank account or not? Like, should we keep our money separate? And this was, again, an easy one. All 4 people, 2 couples said, when you're married, you are one flesh. Bible makes that very clear. You combine your 2 selves into literally one self somehow, spiritually. And keeping your money separate is a little bit like one foot out the door. Like, are you all in or not? Pastor Lee, the other guy on the panel, was like, there's no such thing as my money when you're married. And now he said, now you might have it in your budget where you have a spending limit each month and your spouse has a certain just fun money spending limit each month. But it's not, this is my money that I made and I brought home, and that's your money that you made. There's no holding it over each other's heads. Now, of course, like if there's somebody who's really struggled financially and they have an addiction of shopping or gambling or anything like that, that would be an entirely different scenario. But just in the normal day-to-day situation, have a money plan, have conversations about it. If you have no idea how to manage money, take a class. There's a million out there. Get on the Dave Ramsey plan. Do something, but do it together. And make sure everybody knows. Be above board. Try not to hide from money stuff because it's scary. Because just because you ignore it doesn't mean it's not there. Your money is still doing stuff in the accounts and in the bank. And the more you pretend it's not, the more you pretend it's something you get to not pay attention to, that can really turn around and bite you in the butt. So that's my suggestion. Even if they're hard, have conversations, make a plan, get on it together. Okay, this question I love so much, and we didn't even get to it in the panel. We ran out of time. But it said, what do you do with all the baggage that you bring into the relationship For example, your family dysfunctions, his traditions versus her traditions, different ways of expressing love, wounds from your upbringing, and so on. So basically, you get married and you're like, uh-oh, we got some stuff. What do we do with this? I'm going to address some of these separately, but of course, you guys have different traditions, different ways of seeing things, doing things. I just want to invite you to think of it this way. When you got married, you created your own family. The Bible says we leave our parents and we cleave to one another. You guys get to create your own tradition. And that means it might be a combination of his and hers. It might be completely different. If there's something that meant a lot to your husband growing up, and man, he would love to have that a part of the family tradition again, great. Honor that. Make space for it, as you would hope he would do for you. If your wife is extremely uncomfortable with some of her family traditions and they bring tension and fear and they ruin family holidays, that's an amazing opportunity to get to come and kind of be her rock and her strength and help navigate that for her and with her and scrap that tradition, create something new together. I guarantee you that some of your family dysfunctions and wounds from your past and your upbringing, they play a massive part in our current marriages. Even when you have no idea that what's happening in your marriage is tied to pain from your childhood. This is like Splankna 101. You could literally come to my Splankna office and be like, I want to talk about how my marriage is always draining the life out of me. My husband always does this, and then I always respond this way, and we cannot get on the same page. And I have entirely low self-esteem. I can never speak up for myself. We can do an entire Splankna session on why are you never able to open your mouth and speak up for what you need or what you want? Why is your self-esteem so low that you basically have one human running the entire house and the entire marriage, your husband, because you can't or won't ever voice your needs or your opinions? I would guess 9 out of 10 times you learned that as a child. So what do you do when you've unknowingly or knowingly brought that into your marriage? You have to go get healing for that. That can be in a Splankna setting, of course. I want to be a person who can respectfully speak up and have my own personality. And I want to be able to show up in a marriage so that my husband's not left all by himself running the whole world without his wife's input. Or you can go to traditional therapy and literally sit down and say, this is what my childhood was, and I think it's affecting my marriage. Can you help me? Wounds from your upbringing. Wounds are meant to heal. They're not meant to be paved over and start something new, build on top of it. That's a faulty foundation. And whoever asked this question, I'm guessing that they were very aware that these wounds were having a way in their marriage, or they wouldn't have been asking the question. I want you to know there's hope. People heal from their wounds and their childhood wounds all the time if you're willing to put in the hard work. And it is hard to heal. It's hard to go to therapy. It's hard to sit in front of a Splankna practitioner week after week and trudge through the gross, heavy, sad stuff of your childhood. But it's also really, really hard to be married with a bunch of wounds. And you guys keep wounding each other because you refuse to look at your past. So if you're trying to avoid the hard, in this situation, there is no avoiding the hard. Whatever path you choose is going to be hard, but one of them, there's an ending to it. You work through the gunk, you pull all this stuff to the surface, you heal it, you hear from the Lord on it, and then it's healed. And you get to have a new marriage, a new relationship with yourself even. The other kind of hard, you are just kind of stuck, trying to shove down the pain from the past all the time, and it will always be there. This is a choose your hard kind of moment. Another question here, and this might be the last one, or I'll get in one more after that, but it's, what do gender roles look like in marriage? Male and female energy. That was the question. So you could go a lot of places with that answer. But the way my husband answered this, I thought was so beautiful. He said, I'm convinced that a man's job in marriage is to create space for his wife to thrive. Like, women tend to take on the weight of the world on their whole shoulders. And when we do, it tends to shut us down, make us anxious, bitter. So I'm just going to tell the story because I don't know how else to portray it. But, when we were younger and married, I had the house and the kids, and he had the business, right? We all had our roles, male and female. But what happened in that is I was really not doing okay. I was kind of drowning in anxiety and probably a little bit of depression. I was postpartum depression. I had 3 kids in diapers. I was up all night. And my husband and I both kind of had this idea of like, well, this is my job. This is just how it is. And so he would go to work and he'd come home and I was struggling. And he kind of said it later. He's like, if I didn't know then that if my wife is struggling that intensely, it's my job as the head of the household, as the leader, to create space for her to recover, to heal, to breathe, to rest. Like, women need, and I say need kind of tongue in cheek, but the feminine energy was created to thrive in places of rest. And so when life is heavy, if a healthy, strong man can take on and shoulder some of the weight that the woman is carrying, it literally frees the woman up to be more feminine. And feminine energy has this amazing thing to it. It's like when a woman is allowed to exist outside of struggle all the time and intensity all the time, this really lovely, life-giving, gentle side of her comes out. And guess who benefits from that? For sure, her, but also her husband, also her kids. And then my husband says men were created to struggle a little bit more than women. Men are created to thrive when they have something to do, to conquer, someone to protect, to rise to the challenge, to shoulder the weight and protect their wife and their kids. When that dynamic is off, it can get tricky. There's a whole study about this, but the way people talk about it is like, if there's a disconnect there and the husband and wife are not really protecting each other, connected, the husband's off doing his own thing, the wife's off doing her own thing, sometimes what can happen is the woman can go into more of a masculine energy. Now she's the one holding everything together. She's shouldering the weight. She gets really naggy and really anxious and really upset. And I don't need you energy, because she is trying to do a role that wasn't necessarily hers. So I know this could be super controversial. People could say women don't need a man. I get that whole thing. All I'm saying is something really amazing happens when a man, the leader of the house, the head of the home, makes it his responsibility to make sure life is harder for him than it is for his wife. And what can I do to help you? How can I love you better this week? Let me pray for you. Hey, why don't you go take 20 minutes to recharge? I've got the kids. Something massive shifts in a marriage when that kind of male and female energy is happening. It's like the male is using his strength given to him by God and the connectedness that he has with his creator to benefit his wife. And men, that means that if you're doing that, you are so connected to Jesus, because it does take a lot of energy to live like that. And you can't be the source of your own will, your own strength, your own, like, just white knuckle it and make life harder, carry more weight. You have to be offloading the stress, the worry, the responsibility to Jesus and receiving what he has for you so that he's your source and you're not the source, because otherwise you'll burn out and then the whole family's in trouble. So again, I didn't even get to all these questions, you guys, but my time is up. In full disclosure, I just got to go pick up my daughter from preschool. That's my real life moment here. But man, you guys, it's such a pleasure to have you here. I love getting to spend this time with you and to dig into real and meaningful questions. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for spending this time with me today. It's an honor to be part of your journey. If you're interested in working with a Splankna practitioner, you can visit lauramilliken.com, where you'll find a list of my 10 preferred practitioners. These are people I personally know and trust. I've been to trainings with them myself, and all of them offer virtual sessions so you can work with them from anywhere in the world. If you've been listening and feel drawn to this work yourself and you've considered becoming trained, you can also find information about those upcoming trainings on my website. When you register, enter the promo code podcast at checkout to receive a discounted rate. And if this podcast has supported you and you'd like to go deeper, I've created additional content over on Patreon. It's a simple way to support the show and get access to bonus material that I don't share anywhere else. You can find the link for that at lauramilliken.com as well. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Energy to Heal.
Hi, I'm Katie Duke, and I've been a nurse for over 20 years. Listen, I used to think that I was my most stylish in my 20s, but honestly, style and confidence only get better with age. And that is why I love Figs. These scrubs are beautiful, comfortable, and they are built to last. They're not those boxy, scratchy uniforms that we all started out in. No. These fit perfectly. They feel amazing, and the quality is just wow! My favorite color? Burgundy. It's chic, it's timeless, and it's even the same color as my apartment, because I'm kind of obsessed with it. And I love adding custom embroidery to make my scrubs as personal as my style. And since I work in telehealth, my embroidered figs even double as my ID badge. It's never too late to reinvent yourself or your scrubs. Get 15% off your first order at wearfigs.com with the code FIGSRX. That's wearfigs.com, code FIGSRX for 15% off your first order.